Good afternoon, everyone. I'm calling this public school board meeting to order. Customarily, we begin our meetings with an invocation, and today that would be brought to us by Pastor Brian Kuhn from the First Baptist Church of Kissimmee. We will recite the Pledge of Allegiance, and we'll be led by Mike Allen, our Assistant Superintendent for middle school. The national anthem will be performed by Sophia Ganawi. She's a student at OXA, Osceola County School for the Arts. Our mission statement shall be read by Sarah Graber, our CFO. Translation services will be provided by Dr. Lestenia Penaloza, our coordinator for multicultural services. And at this time, I would ask everyone to please rise. Mr. Kuhn, you will.
Thank you so much. If you would join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, we are so grateful for the way that you blessed our school board, our community, our nation, and as we start this new year, this new decade, 2020 that we have before us, we're grateful that despite all of the situations that we see, the circumstances that we find ourselves in, that, Lord, you are still in control, that, Lord, you are sovereign, and you are still on the throne. And so, God, we are grateful for that this evening. And I also pray for the school board meeting. God, we're grateful for our school board and the administration. We're so grateful for their service, and I just pray that you would take and give us wisdom in this meeting together. Lord, as they strive to take and to make our schools for the greatest places for our teachers and our students, pray that you would give them the wisdom and guidance that only you can give. And we're so grateful for what you do for us today and every day, and we'll be careful to give you the glory for it all. We pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The mission statement of the School District of Osceola County is inspiring all learners to reach their highest potential as responsible, productive citizens.
Good evening. My name is Lestenia Penaloza, and I am here to provide translation services. Buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Lestenia Penaloza, y estoy aquí para proveer servicios de traducción.
All right. So at this time, if any board member has positive comments and that they would like, just volunteer yourself.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Anyone else?
Happy New Year.
Yeah? Happy New Year's? Yeah? You? Good. Happy New Year's? Okay. All five of us say Happy New Year's. Dr. Pace, not going to save us from this one? All right. Next portion of this public meeting is that we open it for public comment. I do not know if anybody signed up to make a public comment. All right. So we'll close that portion of the meeting. We'll recess this public meeting and public hearing for that you, right? Yeah, okay, so we recess and open the public hearing for rules. Mr. Boyd, welcome.
Thank you, sir. Tonight, school board members, we're bringing to you several changes and revisions to the school board rules and student progression plan. There are some that are additional to the workshop that we had for you back in November. I'll highlight those as I go through and I read the changes into the proposed changes into the record.
Yes.
And then at the end, when I finish, we would request approval for the changes as submitted. So the first change that's proposed is a new school board rule, 8.361, transporting students in a school district-owned, rented, leased, non-school bus small vehicles. Creates a new policy that governs school district employees who transport fewer than 10 persons, including the driver, in school district-owned, leased, rented, non-school bus small vehicles for educational field trips or school-sponsored or school-related events. The next set of changes are revisions to existing rules. 2.95 Wellness Program revises policy language for clarity and consistency regarding fundraising efforts and to address further a federal audit finding with corrective action regarding the enforcement of federal regulations. For example, Section 7 Code of Federal Regulations 210.11 Competitive Food Service and Standards. Specifically, this change revises paragraph 2B4A and paragraph 3J1. It deletes part of 3C and deletes 2B4B, paragraph 3J3, and paragraph 3J4. This change and several others address the same sets of rules that were brought to you in the last rulemaking cycle related to the same thing. This further clarifies and revises them. Rule 4.11, Student Progression Plan, revises the policy language to implement changes within Section 1003.4282, Requirements for a Standard High School Diploma, Florida statutes. It revises paragraph 1 to add the new Career and Technical Education CTE graduation pathway option that was in statutory changes in the last legislative session. Rule 4.18, Academic and Career Planning, revises policy language to implement changes within Section 1003.4156, General Requirements for Middle Grades Promotion, Florida statutes. It revises paragraph 1 to clarify the beginning of the 1920 school year. Middle school students shall complete a career and education planning course in order to be promoted to high school. It revises paragraph 1 to specify that the career and education planning course must be internet-based, customizable to each student, and include research-based assessments to assist with determining educational and career options and goals. And it adds paragraph 2D through 2G to include as required course components information on high school diploma designations, the Florida Bright Future Scholarships Program, Florida's state college and university admission requirements, and opportunities available to earn college credit in high school, including advanced placement, international baccalaureate, advanced international certificate of education, dual enrollment, and career education courses. This will also be readdressed in the student progression plan itself. But because we have an existing rule that it refers to, we address it in both places. Rule 5.09, Requirements for Original Entry, revises policy language to implement changes within sections 381.003, Communicable Disease and AIDS Prevention and Control, and section 1003.22, School Entry Health Examinations, Immunization Against Communicable Diseases, Exemptions, Duties of Department of Health, Florida statutes. It revises paragraph 1 to add that any student who enrolls in the school district must have on file with the immunization registry a certificate of immunization, or, if excluded from participation, with the school. This change implements a statutory change in the last legislative session. Rule 5.14, Homeless Students, revises policy language throughout to comply with recent changes in federal law as a result of the reauthorization of the McKinney-Vento Homeless Assistance Act. This revision simply makes it consistent with federal statute. Rule 5.18, Children of Military Families, revises policy language to implement changes within Section 1003.05, Clause 4, assistance to transitioning students from military families, Florida statutes. It adds paragraph 3 to define enrollment of students from military families based upon official military orders instead of residency. Rule 6.145, substitute teachers, deletes paragraph 5 to remove certification requirements for substitute teachers that are no longer required by state law. Rule 6.20, certification of administrative and instructional personnel, revises policy language to implement changes within sections 1012.56 educator certification requirements and 1012.57 certification of adjunct educators Florida statutes. It adds paragraphs 1A and 1B to comply with the requirement that the school district shall document district and state level resources available to assist certification applicants who have not passed the Florida Teacher Certification Examination, FTCE, General Knowledge Examination, and adds paragraph 3 to establish the minimal qualifications for the issuance of school district specific certificates which provide eligibility for employment but no right to employment, and to define adjunct educator. Rule 6.21, requirements for original entry, deletes paragraph 1 to remove the certification requirements for substitute teachers that are no longer required by state law. Rule 7.40, fundraising for school projects and activities, revises paragraph 9A to clarify the policy language regarding fundraising efforts and to address further a federal audit finding with corrective action regarding the enforcement of federal regulations. Rule 8.36, transporting students in private vehicles, revises paragraphs 1, 4A, 4B, 4D, and 4E to reflect grammatical adjustments, revises paragraph 2 to delete the word motor, revises paragraph 3 to replace the word students with persons and to add the phrase including the driver, revises paragraph 4B to specify all before Florida laws and regulations related to driving, and adds paragraph 4C to add adhere to all school board policies and school district procedures related to transporting students. Lastly, Rule 8.43, competitive sales and fundraising regulations, revises policy language for clarity and consistency regarding fundraising efforts and to address further a federal audit finding with corrective action regarding the enforcement of federal regulations. The next set of changes address changes within the student progression document. In general, these changes revise the policy document to comply with recent changes in state law and to provide consistency with district precedent and current practice. The first change revises policy language to correct a typographical error from grades 6 through 12 to grades 6 through 8 in the section entitled Placement of Transfer Students, grades 6 through 8. The next change revises the language to implement changes within Section 1003.4156, General Requirements for Middle Schools Promotion, Florida statutes. It adds the Career and Education Planning course requirement for middle school students that are referred to in the other rule change. The next change revises language to delete I-Ready Reading and I-Ready Math tests from the list within elementary school possible assessments section. The change after that implements changes within Section 1003.4282, requirements for a standard high school diploma, Florida statutes. It implements the requirement that the school district offers as a new 1/2 credit elective a financial literacy course. And the last change is it revises language to implement changes within Section 1003.4282, requirements for a standard high school diploma, Florida statutes. It adds the Career and Technical Education CTE graduation pathway option. That's the summary of the changes we bring to you as proposed tonight and request your action after an opportunity for the public to make public comment on them at this public hearing at your direction, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Boyd. So at this time, I'll open up for public comments, questions, concerns. Okay, seeing that no one from the public wants to address this board. Board?
Chair, I make a motion to approve and ask for discussion.
Second with discussion.
Very well. So we have a motion to approve by Mr. Weissire with a second by Mr. Booth, both with discussion. Mr. Weissire, you start.
Thank you. Mr. Boyd, as I always say, thank you. It's easy for us and others to miss just how much work really goes into you preparing these. I feel like I say it every time you come forward with this, but I know that it's a lot of work, and I always appreciate and respect the work that you do, and I never want to miss the opportunity to express my gratitude for it.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Weisshire summed up everything I was going to say, and he did it a lot more, he articulated it better than I would have, so I guess I'll add, I love the Norman Rockwell tie.
Oh, thank you.
Any other comments? No? All right. So we'll take a vote. All those in favor to approve, please say aye.
Aye.
Hearing none say no. The vote passes 5-0.
Thank you.
And so we will, thank you, Mr. Boyd.
Thank you, Board.
We will
Thank you, Dr.
adjourn
Pace.
the rulemaking public hearing and reconvene our public board meeting. And at this time, I'd like to know if any board member has any modifications to the agenda. I'll start with Ms. Castillo.
I don't have any modifications.
Mr. Thacker.
Skip me, come right back.
I will.
I have none.
I'm good.
Mr. Weisshire.
No, sir.
Yes, Mr. Soto, with pleasure of the board, I'd like to request that we table item 15.01, consideration of the alternative impact fee. We received a request from the developer's attorney to have some time to review some records that were requested in regards to that particular recommendation. I'd like to recommend that we pull it and potentially table it for our next meeting.
Very well. All right. So we have that modification request. Any others? You are. Very well. So do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda with that?
Make a motion to approve consent agenda and removal of item 15.01.
Second.
So we have a motion to approve consent with the removal of 15.01 by Mr. Thacker and a second by Ms. Castillo. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
The vote will pass 5-0. Next on is action items. We, sorry.
Information. 11.
Yes. Information item agenda. There's no speakers or presentation, all in the packet. Any board member wants to discuss or bring any information about these items? No? Very well, we'll move on. Regular information and technology, there is one item, 12.01.
Move for approval, 12.01.
Second.
All right, so there's a motion to approve under regular information technology, item 12.01 by Mr. Thacker and a second by Ms. Castillo. Does anyone have any discussion on this item? Hearing no discussion, we take a vote. All those in favor to approve, please state aye.
Aye.
Vote passes 5-0.
Mr. Chairman, on item 13, I'd like to discuss 13.02, so I don't know if we need to do these one at a time.
We can
or just
discuss
pull
it.
out. Or if you want to block them, and then I'll just discuss that one item, however,
Very
I
well.
don't know what the best way.
So is your motion to approve 13.04?
With discussion, that's fine.
I'll second that.
Yes.
Very well. There's a motion to approve under regular facilities. Item 13.04 with discussion and a second by Mr. Booth. By Thacker, with Mr. Booth. Mr. Thacker, you have the floor.
And this may be very quick. I don't know if this was discussed at the workshop or not. I apologize for not being there. Item 13.02 is the football drainage repairs project. Was that discussed at the workshop?
No.
I guess my question is, I guess we just build football fields and then we spend hundreds of thousands of dollars continually rebuilding football fields. I'm kind of curious. We're spending $78,000. It looks like just to get the project started. Do we know what this project will ultimately be?
Yes, sir. The scope of the project involves correcting drainage issues on the field. The field over the years has come out of level, so this involves regrading the field, resodding the field, and also replacing several amenities, a long jump pit, high jump, and some limited bleacher work for this project. So it involves several components on the field as well as components in the vicinity of the field for the football stadium.
And I guess my question is, this is just civil engineering services. This is not doing the repairs, right?
Correct. This is
Do
just
we know
for the
how much
design work.
roughly what these repairs are going to cost us? If it's $78,000 just to do the engineering?
We do have a rough order of magnitude construction.
That's all.
I can follow up with you. I don't recall it at this time.
If that's the case, does this have to be approved? Is this time sensitive for you?
Well, yes, in that we're trying to get the design completed so that we can get the work completed over the summer. So we have to complete the design first, obviously, so we can get to construction documents in order to bid the project.
I guess, Mr. Soto, Chairman, if you don't mind.
Well,
So this, I know that this high school was built, I think, in '94, correct? Have we done this work? Have we done any work like this since that time?
I am not aware
Is this
of-
20 years in the making, 25 years in the making?
It appears as though most of the amenities are existing.
Okay.
And are in disrepair. There are several safety issues.
Okay.
I guess my concern is if it's $78,000 just to do the engineering, are we looking at several $100,000 to make the corrections, which that's a pretty high number for engineering. If it must be a lot of work involved, I'm assuming. And to go down a path of $78,000, spend $500,000 concerns me a little. I'm not sure where we're at. I'm okay with letting it go, I guess, but I would like more. I mean, I don't want to not be able to do the work in the summer, and I'm sure it does need to be done. I'm not really questioning whether it needs to be
And
done.
Mr. Thacker, I'd be happy to follow up with you and provide you further breakdown.
Okay.
Mr. Weissayer.
Thank you. So my questions, first of all, thank you, Mr. Thacker, for the questions on this. I can certainly, for what it's worth, I can certainly go along with not approving this tonight if desired to make sure we have all the data, and I'm perfectly comfortable with that. I think, Mark, though, my first question would be, and this is for my own knowledge and understanding, and Mr. Booth, I think, touched on this a little bit with his question. How frequently or how often should the school board be thinking about needed repairs of a magnitude like this for a facility, right? So it comes up, Mr. Thacker says, hey, this concerns me, we're about to spend a lot of money on something like this. It's a good question, fair question, but maybe it's also me needing to be educated a little bit more that, hey, look, guys, this is a 25-year-old field. That is about the life cycle that you're going to see. In fact, if you get more than 12 years out of a field, you're doing really well, or 30 years out of a field. I don't know that answer, so I'm looking for you to maybe help me understand. Big picture, what should the school board be thinking about when we're thinking about athletic facilities like this?
It is our opinion that the amenities have exceeded their life cycle.
Okay.
They have been there for many years. The school is not able to use those amenities as they were previously intended for.
And if I may, this goes back, Dr. Pace, you probably have a far better memory on this than I do. When this school was built, we had a ton of dirt work issues. And is this left over from some of the stuff we never fixed on day one? I don't know the answer to that, and I guess that's my concern. And really, this kind of boils all the way back to Tocalaga High School. Have we done everything we needed to do? And I'm just concerned that I don't want to be having this same conversation on Tocalaga in 8 years because we never really fixed the problem. And we just see football fields. We see fields over and over and over again. And I get that they do break down, and I get that my yard's not as level as it was 20 years ago either, nor am I. So,
You know, what
You almost slipped that.
what I think I can share with the board, a couple of things. Number one, within the quarter penny sales tax that the district shares with the two cities in the county, there's a $10,000 a year allocation to our comprehensive high schools to go into athletic facilities, upkeep, renovation, those types of things. It just doesn't go very far. We have cyclical maintenance built in to resurface gym floors, to resurface tracks every few years. That's done typically one school per year. But we typically have not had a field maintenance program or a field life cycle program that I'm aware of. And certainly we can do some other research. Yes, when Poinciana High School opened in 1994, there were significant issues with dirt. There are also significant issues with HVAC. All of those things had to be fixed back then. But I think the field has been functioning up until this point. I know it was not an issue for us when I was there in the early 2000s. But it is now a 26-year-old facility.
And this project originally came to us by the maintenance department. They had a plan to attempt to correct the drainage and resod the field. But after their review, their in-depth review, they determined that it needed more than just a little bit of grading and new sod. So this includes installing an underdrain system so that it will perform to our expectations over the years. And I've since located the rough order of magnitude construction estimate, 1.470443, and the total project budget is estimated at $1,770,236.
Mr. Weisshire.
Yeah, so I think there's an opportunity for us to. So the issue, I will assume, and I'm going to speak a little bit for you here, Mr. Thacker, but clean me up. I don't think the issue tonight is really about this field, this project per se. Maybe it is, but as much as the fact that it's when we see these type of things, I think we get a little bit of concern and sticker shock, and maybe that comes from. I'm going to speak for myself here, a little bit of opportunity to gain in knowledge and understanding about what we need to be thinking about replacement, life cycle, and costs associated with that. If you think about the school board, this board, it would have been Celebration High School, Toho High School, and now Poinciana High School, that within just recent years, we've had to deal with some type of major expense associated with the football fields. And obviously, Toho was associated with construction and what was happening at that point in time. But I think part of what you're probably catching, and I'm kind of gleaning onto, is the overall cost and sticker shock about those type of things, and having had 2 or 3 of them back to back over the course of 2, 3, or 4 years, that probably is concerning us. It's a lot of money to spend, and I recognize that it's an important component and aspect of the campus and the programming that happens there. But I personally would like to have a better understanding. Dr. Pace, to your point, you mentioned the dollars that are within the shared sales tax for these type of things, and yet it's a drop in the bucket in the big picture about gym resurfacing. I think there's an opportunity to educate the board a little bit about that program and what the life cycle of those looks like, so that we can have a better look down the road and we're not being responsive or concerned when it comes to us. I can benefit from that.
I just have one more quick question, and then I'll leave it be. St. Cloud High School football field, I know was there in the mid-'70s. I don't know how much longer before that. Have we ever spent anything like this on that field?
I couldn't tell you, sir, but we'll certainly have to do some research. And to be quite honest, I have some misgivings about a project budget of that size with a little bit more, without a little bit more information. I don't think I'd heard the $1.7 million project budget. So,
I mean, we put an artificial turf field in for not much more than that and solved that.
Yeah. So I think
we're talking more about just field drainage here. Right?
Yes, we are. We're talking about an underdrain system, regrading the field, new sod, and then replacing various athletic amenities. The long jump, the run. It's the.
There's a realty company in Poinciana, I think it's called Dream Builders, that might be willing to put in $10,000 a year, and then we can have
I can talk to the owner.
You can talk to the owner.
I think her name is Pam.
Then we can have a AstroTurf or whatever.
Yeah.
Back to you, Tim.
So again, Ms. Thacker, thank you for your questions on this. Board, I'm going to make a motion to postpone a vote on this.
You have a motion out there.
Do we?
All of them? I had made a motion on, actually the motion is on all 3.
Correct.
Okay.
You want to pull this one out? Because I'm okay with that.
Yeah, Board, so you know where I was going to go.
I'll withdraw my motion.
I'll withdraw my second.
All right. So we're going to.
But then I'll make a motion to approve item 13.01.
I'll second that.
All right. So the motion on the floor is to table item 13.02 and to approve item 13.01 and just 01.
We got to do one at a time.
Yeah, just do it one. I'm making a motion for 01.
Very well. Second by Mr. Thacker. Any discussion on 13.01? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Vote passes 5-0.
I'll make a motion to approve item 13.03, sir.
Second.
It's a motion by Mr. Booth to approve item 13.03, second by Ms. Castillo. Any discussion on item 13.03? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Vote passes 5-0.
And I guess, do we need a motion?
I'd like to, on 13.02, I know time is of the essence, but our next meeting is in 2 weeks. Table this for 2 weeks and get a little more
Yes.
insight.
Okay.
Do we need a motion?
I don't know if we need a motion.
I would make a motion to postpone action on 13.02 until our next regularly scheduled school board meeting.
I'll second that.
All right, so motion by Mr. Weiseier, table 13.02, second by Thacker. Mr. Thacker,
Chairman.
without further discussion, we take a
Mr.
vote.
Chairman, could I just, Mark, as you're looking through the data, could we look at, after we're taking ownership of a school and operating it, when our problems are developing, so that you and I could look at, are our warranties long enough? You know, there's a very good car company that everybody says who buys one of the cars or leases it, get rid of it the day the warranty expires. It's almost like it's programmed for problems. So it may be in our contracts we want to add in more protections.
Extended warranties.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Very well. So we'll take a vote. All those in favor, please state aye. Aye. Vote passes 5-0. Okay, the next item in our agenda is the item 14.01, approval of the First Amendment to the contract for legal services between Frank Krupenbacher, PA, and the School Board of Osceola County. Board, any motions or discussion?
Motion to approve.
Second with discussion.
Very well. We have a motion to approve the amendment to the contract by Ms. Castillo and the second by Mr. Weiseier with discussion. The floor is yours.
I definitely have discussion here, Mr. Carpenter. No, a couple things. Board, I want to let you know I had a meeting with council just to talk about our legal services. First of all, I want to point out that the model in which we're using right now, I think, is the right model for where we stand today, which is why I'll be voting in favor of this amendment to the contract. However, I also asked our counselor to meet with the superintendent and talk through where there may be gaps and opportunities to continue to expand support around the work that Mr. Krupenbacher is doing for us. I'm very, very grateful for the savings that we have realized in legal services as a result of Mr. Krupenbacher's work over the last number of years on behalf of the board, and I don't want that to go without being stated and recognized, so thank you. But I also want to make sure that we're looking at all of those areas, and I guess, Superintendent, my direction is really going to be to you tonight. Please schedule a time with Mrs. Krupenbacher, sit down, and let's talk through where those areas that you as a superintendent are going to need additional support from our attorney to make sure that all areas of the house are being covered. And if that means, at the end of it all, it costs us a little bit more money in adding some additional support services around you, I'm okay with that as long as it's justified. I don't want us to be so focused on saving a dollar here and dollar there that we create some gaps in liability in areas that I don't think we should have. So I think you're doing good work. I think there's continual opportunity to improve and expand upon what you're doing, and I would want to make sure that the board was aware of my thoughts on that and my expectation for you and the superintendent to sit down immediately and talk through where there's opportunities.
So I started following our meeting, members of the board. Dr. Pace and I have already begun those discussions and are planning on coming back.
Good.
Mr. Thacker.
2 points. One, I agree with Mr. Weiseier. I do want us to look. I get a little concerned on some of the more mechanics, that we have enough, Dr. Pace and her team have enough help for Speedy. Simple stuff. I'm not talking about some of the big issues that we have that certainly we want you in the middle of. The other one is, board, and I don't know, y'all can say no thank you. I'd like us to insert into the contract or put a part of this thing as we approve it. I think we should have a review process with you as we do with Dr. Pace, just so it kind of forces the issue to sit down and talk to you once a year. I don't know what anybody else.
I'm 100% on board.
Sure.
Please. To amend the current contract that we have in place.
Counselor?
Can we ask council to amend the contract?
Unless you all have an objection, we'll put in a review process.
Okay.
Okay.
Before the board wants to.
And Mr. Booth.
I don't think I can say much more because I agree with both of what has been said here. I just wanted to thank Mr. Krummelbacher for his knowledge. I have appreciated it. How many years were you in Orange County? 50, 60, 70? A long time. So it actually, Mr. Krummelbacher, just so the public knows, brings a wealth of knowledge of just school board law and Florida law, and so I have really appreciated having him here serving as our counselor here, so thank you for all your work.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, thank you. I'm honored to represent you, but I have to tell you, it works because you've got a phenomenal superintendent and staff and they do their jobs. I've seen the other version of that, right? But you have a team that works. It's great to be around.
So if I could paraphrase what you just said, you have the best school board.
That's what I heard, too.
That's what I heard, anyway. Is that it?
Make sure kids writing that down.
I'm glad
you got that quote.
That's what I was trying to say.
We haven't voted yet, Frank. Be careful.
Well,
Call the question.
let's take care of that, okay? We have a pending motion by Ms. Castillo, second by Mr. Weissayer. Without further discussion, we'll take a vote. All those in favor, please state aye. Aye. Vote passes 5-0.
I'd make a motion to approve item 1503.
Two.
Oh, I mean, excuse me, 1502.
I'll second that. Any discussion? I believe there is.
Yeah, I just want to go back. I made my comments clear during the workshop. First of all, thank you to Foundation and for your work and your partnership and for being here and during both the workshop and now the school board meeting. I just want to make sure the board knows I still have concern around the financing and the mechanisms by which we're going to use to take this project on. And I'm looking forward to more information. I spoke briefly, very briefly in passing with Ms. Graver in between the workshop and the board meeting. That still is of concern to me, and so I'm approving this tonight, contingent upon my ability to look at how it is we're actually going to use various levers and mechanisms to deal with this, because it is an expensive endeavor for us, and it's not something we should take lightly, as you guys all know. But just so you know my head and heart on this, I'm going to vote in favor, but I really want more information on the financial aspects of how we're going to manage it.
I believe Mr. Booth was next.
I just wanted to say thank you to Ms. Blake. She came up afterwards and showed me some of the attendance zone boundaries that she's been working on. So I have had that discussion with her. I wanted to thank the folks from the Education Foundation. As you know, as we discussed in the workshop, this is kind of my home area. Not just my district, but actually my home is located there. So this, moving forward, this is, it's really going to impact people that live. My neighbors, essentially, my direct neighbors. So, not that we're all not all neighbors in Osceola County, but certainly, I just wanted to thank the superintendent and her staff, Education Foundation again for all the hard work and putting all this together to come to this point where we can say, hey, let's do what's best for Osceola County, and I think we've reached that point. So, with that, I will vote in favor.
Very well. I believe the next board member that wanted to make a comment is Ms. Castillo.
Yeah, so I just wanted to echo Mr. Weissayer's comments about understanding a little bit more of the mechanics. Ms. Graber, thank you so much for sitting with me after the workshop, because I did still have some pending questions. Thank you for answering those. I do believe that this is the right course of action just based on the amount of time that we've spent talking, but I do really want to get those numbers. That's, as you know, a concern for me as well.
Very well. Mr. Thacker.
Same concerns. The thing that I guess really pushes me over the top, I'm certainly in support of this, is I think there is a need on the redistricting piece. Maybe we can get Mr. Booth in there for a couple more years, see if it'll help him out a little bit. I think there's some students out there that travel an awfully long way to get to places past this. And the structure's there, the building's there, it's been built. I know we've got to do some changes, but I kind of still feel that these changes are ultimately far ahead of what it would cost to build, to start over. So I'm all in.
Very well. So we do have a motion by Mr. Booth to approve, second by myself. Do we have any further discussion on this item? We do not. Then we'll take a vote. All those in favor, please state aye. Aye. Vote passes 5-0.
Chairman, could I just publicly thank on behalf of Dr. Pace, myself, and everyone, Tommy Tompkins, who was very, very helpful in facilitating so that we didn't have any kind of bad issues. And appreciate that a lot.
Very well. Thank you, Mr. Tompkins, for all your involvement in this. It's a great service to the community and to all of our students in this county.
Agreed.
Next item, superintendent's update.
I have nothing.
Very well. That was fast.
I apologize.
Oh, no.
I do wish to
said
request
no.
an executive session following our meeting on January the 21st to begin some discussions about collective bargaining.
Very well. We'll schedule that.
Thank you.
Board, is there any unfinished business? There shouldn't be. Do we have any new business? There is not. Board member comments. Any final comments before? Nothing from Ms. Castillo? Mr. Thacker? You had your say?
I did.
I know you did. No, I just kidding. Anything else? All right. Now, Miss Nina.
On the spot.
That's okay.
Had a nice long break to rest up.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah, it was great.
Write down some long, lengthy comments for this session.
Not really.
Okay,
Not
good.
really, no.
All right. Everything good over at the?
For the most part, it is, yeah.
All right.
There's a little issue with the jackets and the hoodie situation.
All right.
Yeah. So,
No, actually,
I guess-
if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to. You
No,
briefly, you don't have to give me the in-depth.
You have the
but,
floor.
I have a high school daughter, so I want to know.
so basically, we were told we can only wear Liberty High School hoodies.
That's
Is
true.
that's true?
Yes.
I just had a question. What would the difference be if we were to wear like an Under Armour hoodie and then?
Because the school doesn't get to make any money off that.
Okay.
Okay.
Or because you're better identified with a hoodie from your school.
They have to market it somehow.
You got to draw a line somewhere. If it's Under Armour, then it's this, then it's that. then
Yeah.
it's-
There is a school pride component, and just to let me go back for the public, there was in Osceola County, Osceola High School, kind of got a waiver for this for a long, long time, that they were allowed to use their athletic hoodies, that the kids could wear them. So we felt when we kind of redid, actually, to be quite honest, I was in favor of allowing all hoodies. However, after hearing from our school safety team and our dress code team, they didn't think that was the right way to go. So I sided with them, and we all did as a board, to create a dress code that then allows that for every school without a certain waiver, but doesn't. But still, you have to have the button or zip front unless it's a school.
Because of safety and security, to be able to identify students more
Not because the
readily.
school's making money.
We're amending that comment.
Yeah, I think the way to look at it, at least the way the board looked at it with the superintendent, is that we're not taking something away, we're offering something that wasn't previously offered, and part of that is in the spirit of school pride and school spirit. So as opposed to saying no hoodies, the idea was no hoodies, but if you're using something that's going to express school pride, that would be an exception that we would make to allow that. So it's an expansion of opportunity, not a limitation of opportunity.
So this is an opportunity to come up with something with the school logo to place on your favorite hoodie.
I'll try.
And then we'll be back here talking about it.
And by the way, I get the same comments from my teenage daughters at home. What's the difference? I hope we've kind of articulated that. It is first and foremost about safety. But we believe, I think we all believe, there is that school pride component to it. And also, we don't want Osceola High School to get everything good like they always have.
No, that's the way it should be.
No. No, I enjoy that discussion. So that's that's happened over this break, or it happened since the last meeting? Maybe something came
Yeah.
up about it?
Yeah. There's been a lot of talk about it.
Because everybody
around
got their
campus.
Christmas
They had
hoodies
little-
and they want
Yeah.
They had a little cool weather on Monday.
Yeah.
That's true.
So if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman, you talked about the like a children's closet.
The food market.
Yeah, how did that go? I mean, your big time was over the Christmas break?
Yeah, we actually
How was that?
gave out a little over 200 bags of like watermelon, corn, and sweet potato for the holidays.
Well done.
Thanks. Yeah, it was really cool.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Anyone else wants to leave her off the hook now?
Yeah.
All right, you've done well. Congratulations on that.
Thank you
Awesome,
for
by the
having
way.
me.
Well done.
Thank you.
This is your last meeting with us?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you had one more.
No. I mean, I'll take another one.
Well, you got to have some final comments, though. Then if this is your final meeting.
I have to give Miss Cruz a shout out. She's pretty cool.
All right.
Yeah, she's a good principal. I'm glad we have her.
All right.
Good shout out.
Well, don't tell the other students that will come after you, but if this is your last meeting, we'll all be downhill from here.
Aw,
None of our
no.
other students will compare to you. No, thank you. We appreciate you. We're proud of you.
Thank you very much. You served your school very well. Thank you. All right, so board, motion to adjourn by Mr. Thacker, second by Mr. Booth. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.